Good evening and welcome to the City Council Workshop of April 22nd. I'll call this workshop to order at 5:02. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Fenn?
Here.
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Councilmember White?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Voigt?
Here.
Mayor Lara?
Here. Public comment period. Any one person may address the City Council on any matter on this agenda. If you wish to speak, please fill out a public comment form provided at the back table and give it to the city clerk. There is a 3-minute time limit on public comments. There will be no sharing or passing of time to another person. State law prohibits council from discussing or taking actions brought up by your comments. Nicole, do we have any public comments before we start?
I have no written requests. Benny, do we have any callers on the line? I think he might be on mute. I'll touch base with him.
All right. So it brings us to action items. We can come back and grab public comments later if there are any. Item C1, fiscal year 2026 statewide budget, or citywide budget.
Oh, you
Yeah, climb that hill. Citywide budget and 5-year capital improvement plan.
All right. Thank
Jennifer?
you.
Jennifer.
All right.
All right.
Oh, you know what? We need to do that, don't we? Can you please all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Please hold.
Oh, it was in the. Usually we see it unless
Yeah. Wasn't on my,
yeah. Oh, yeah. we did that.
Like,
I
what
will,
are they
huh?
waiting for?
have to edit that out.
I didn't mean to start all that.
Yeah, sorry. It's all right. We're all good. We're good. Okay. Miss you station?
All right. Can everyone see the presentation? Is it up there? It's in slideshow view. You made it in slideshow?
Yeah, try it.
Hey, okay, there we go.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight's presentation outlines the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget and five-year capital improvement plan. The draft reflects months of preparation, aligning resources with the city's strategic goals and anticipated growth. We'll begin with how this budget was developed, including timelines and department collaboration. We'll then dive into the general fund, both revenues and expenditures, before discussing enhancement requests. We'll conclude with enterprise funds and a look at the long-term fiscal picture. This was a coordinated, department-driven process guided by council priorities and financial policy. It began with council direction in December and continued through internal reviews and meetings with the city manager. The process emphasizes transparency, ownership, and strategic alignment. As circled on the slide, we were at the first view of the draft, and if council requests, we can come back in May. Otherwise, the budget will be brought back for adoption in June. And with that, we'll go ahead and jump into the general fund. Projected revenues for the fiscal year 2026 budget is $72.4 million. This is a decrease from fiscal year 2025 estimated collections, which we will get into in the next slide. This donut chart shows where the City of Beaumont's general fund revenues are coming from for fiscal year 26, totaling approximately $72.4 million. Sales taxes are the largest revenue source, making up 38% of the general fund. However, it's important to note that there is a one-time $6.2 million sales tax audit correction received this year, so when looking at fiscal year 2025 estimated actuals to fiscal year 2026 budget, you will notice this category has been adjusted for that because this receipt is not expected to continue in future years. Projections for ongoing sales tax revenues are kept conservative to align with economic activity. The second largest source is other taxes at 18%, which includes motor vehicle in lieu, utility users tax, and transit occupancy tax, followed by property taxes at 14%, which continue to provide a stable revenue base. Transfers in make up 11% of revenues, which reflects operational support from a variety of other funds, such as CFDs, gas tax, supplemental law enforcement services account funding, grants, and K-9 donations. Smaller categories include miscellaneous revenues, franchise fees, charges for services, license permits, all of which are seeing mixed trends. For example, permits and franchise fees are projected to decline due to slowdown in development and reduced revenue from cable telephone services. Charges for services are rising, especially as more users cover third-party fees through cost recovery. This diversified revenue picture helps support city operations, but the chart also highlights the importance of monitoring sales tax volatility and ensuring ongoing support from transfers and cost recovery mechanisms. And Mayor, if you have any questions, let me know, or I can continue.
Mayor, may I just?
Go ahead.
So really, if you're looking at fiscal year 2026, and you remove the 6.2, there was still growth that occurred.
There was, correct.
So, and growth in what is projected as well. So I
Correct,
just kind of want to
correct.
highlight that if you remove the one-time recovery, that
Right.
we still do show growth within the budget there.
That is correct. Okay.
Good.
Okay, moving on to general fund expenditures. Fiscal year 2020 expenditures total $68.8 million, and that's an increase from fiscal year 2025 original budget due to operating costs such as personnel. And that increase is from personnel, and these are the current positions for $2.6 million and operating at $2.2 million. And I like donut charts, so here's another one for you. This chart shows how the City of Beaumont plans to spend its $65.7 million general fund budget in fiscal year 2026 before enhancement requests. The largest share of the budget, 53%, goes to personnel costs. This reflects increased expenses from new positions added during the current fiscal year, rising benefit costs, and the filling of previously vacant positions to support services demands tied to population growth. Operating costs account for 44% of the budget, and this category is up due to inflationary pressure on utility rates, higher fuel, and vehicle maintenance costs. Capital spending, though smaller at 3%, supports long-term asset sustainability, such as facility upkeep and equipment replacement through internal service fund contributions. Contingency funding makes up less than 1%, providing minimal but strategic flexibility for unforeseen needs. And this breakdown highlights the city's commitment to maintaining service levels, investing in infrastructure, and responding to cost pressures, all while keeping a strong focus on staffing and operational readiness. Any questions?
Sorry, Mayor, I think I
ahead.
have one more question here. Do you know what GFOA's recommendation is for the percentage of personnel costs overall? Do they give any generalized recommendations for what you should have?
No, they actually don't. I'm on the Budget and Fiscal Committee for GFOA, and the conversation we do have is on personnel costs. The problem is they don't like to make a recommendation because agencies are so different and vastly different over the nation. So they can't really come to an agreement on an average because there's so many different agencies. They do school districts, special districts, cities, so it's all different.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Mayor, quick question on, and the difference between the 6.5.8 and the 6.5.7 is what on expenses?
Rounding,
Just the rounding up?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank
Would you like me to continue? Okay, so this is your overall picture. Revenues at 72.4 million, expenses at 65.7 million, with an unprogrammed balance of 6.7 million, and that's before any enhancement requests. Moving on to the enhancement request, we have general fund enhancement requests of 6.24 million, and that includes proposed 27 full-time positions and key operating investments. These requests are structured to address service demand, growth, compliance, and infrastructure. And requests will be presented in the next slides by each department. And we'll start with City Clerk.
So these are the organizational charts. You'll see board charts on the slide, they're a little fancier and bigger.
Share. I get your.
Good evening, council. I am requesting a new position in the office of the city clerk to be able to meet two needs of the office and the organization. The first is to establish a succession plan. This position would be a deputy city clerk in training. While obtaining certifications and program training, this person would essentially shadow all of the duties of my position as deputy city clerk. So this brings me to the second need of assistance and backup. Currently, as the Deputy City Clerk, I am responsible for ensuring adherence to the California Elections Code, the Political Reform Act, California Public Records Act, Brown Act, and regulations set forth by the Fair Political Practices Commission. I'm currently the only staff member trained and versed in these protocols and procedures. As the city grows, the addition of this position would provide a roadmap to address the short-term and immediate needs of the department, as well as the long-term needs of the city and as an organization. So I also have a handout that I've put in front of you, and it is a comparison. Yeah, it looks like this one here. Yes. So this is a comparison of other cities that are similar, comparable to Beaumont, and the makeup of their city clerk's office and how many positions they have. I've notated which cities have an elected city clerk ceremonial type position and the other staff members that they have within their departments. Most cities you'll see have a city clerk that is certified, as well as a deputy city clerk that has also been certified. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Finn?
Yes, thank you. Nicole, just in comparing us to other cities, do other cities, do their clerks handle the elections as well, or by city, or, and the county is not, only does the special districts, is that correct?
Correct, yes. So other cities, like us, we consolidate with the county. However, the city clerk within each city is the elections official.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mayor? Yeah, and this is not, if you were to request additional software or anything like that, that would be in a separate part of this proposal, or would that be here also? Or are we only talking personnel here?
No, it's all enhancements. Nicole just happens to only have one
Okay.
position, so no other enhancements.
All
are-
right, and that's my question then is, so you're confident right now with the records retaining and the scanning and all that stuff, that what you have now is sufficient? And
Yes.
this would be your request for the personnel?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Did I see a computer that you're ordering, right, for a new position, or did I not see that?
Yes, that comes standard with each position.
Okay.
We're required to add the equipment and computer supplies needed.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Do we know what's involved with doing away with an elected city clerk?
No, I don't know the procedure, but it is something that Nicole and I have talked about because it would give us an actual full-time equivalent body in the clerk's office.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other questions, are we good to move on? It looks like,
Okay. Next, we'll go to administration.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. 1200, or the Administration Department, has one enhancement request for this next fiscal year. It would be the addition of one customer service supervisor for the front counter oversight. Customer service is your first point of contact with your residents that the city has, or that they have with the city, whether it's in person or on the phone. They support over 19,000 utility billing accounts, with 365 new this year. We've seen about a 27% increase in utility billing accounts since fiscal year 17. They've seen an increase of about 24% in late bills, 14% in parcels sent to property tax. They also are your hub for your business licensing, so their current active business license count is 1,823. The position overall will just provide more account reviews, investigative and auditing utility billing components. We can enhance our communication with our residents with additional staff, and it will provide a clear succession plan for customer service coordinators, and hopefully increase some retention in that classification. It tends to be it's a stepping stone. They come in and move on within 2 years, which nothing wrong with that, but hope that it'll provide a different path for options. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Do we have space?
So ironically, the East End is full, as you know. I refer to this as the East End. We do have a plan for some space planning and to move some staff. Now that we've been in the East End for, or not we, but some staff have been in the East End for almost a year. We know the critical departments that need frontline communication with the residents. So we want to free up some space in the East End and move some internal service fund staff down to the end. So we've identified some space planning of people that can be relocated to the West End. And yes, knock on wood, we are at capacity.
That's my thoughts.
But yes, we will have room once we move. Again, shuffle.
Councilmember White?
How many new positions in general or total are we looking at for the budget? It was 20-something, right?
27 proposed.
Okay. Do you have it in the presentation? I didn't see it in the attachments. I'd love to see a chart of number of positions we've had, because every year it seems to me like we add so many new positions. There may be some off years, but it would be nice to see a chart that shows our growth in employees along with our growth in population. I'd just like to get an idea, because I know when we first started out, we were very shorthanded. And so I understand why we had to catch up, and we tried to move a lot of things in-house. And I think that's important when we can do that. But I'd just like to get a sense of the number. I don't have any.
I have those right in front of me. If you, I can read them to you. Fiscal year 22, we were at 188. Fiscal year 23, we went to 212.5. Fiscal year 24, we went to 231.5 employees. This last fiscal year, current fiscal year 25, 247 were originally approved in the budget, and then mid-year we added 5, I believe. So we're at 252.
So just those years you've read, we've increased over 20 employees a year.
In my HR department, when I was going to ask for staff, we've increased, employees have increased by 50% since fiscal year 18.
Okay, and before I forget, another thing I was going to ask on your donut chart, breaking out the personnel. And again, if you have this, I'd love to know what percentage of the personnel cost was coming from police and fire, and then everyone else. Just get a sense, break out the police and the fire numbers, just so I have and I think, is your operational numbers also a mixture of those departments or those groups?
It's a combination of everything.
Okay, I really think we need to take a close look at the fire services.
So would you like it by department or by function?
Public safety versus
Public safety.
everyone else.
Okay.
And then break out public safety by police and fire,
Gotcha.
if that's all right.
Yeah, I can work on that.
Okay.
Kind of along those lines, when we're looking at least for me, when I'm looking at a number of positions that are being requested, everything that we seem to do is based on like a 5-year forecasting. It would be nice to, if you can, to do like a 5-year forecasting for positions in different, in departments, so that we can kind of see as we continue to grow. I think we still can suffer from growing pains. So we can kind of see what that forecasting of positions would be, so that we have a better understanding of where we are than where we need to go.
And I think for this department specifically is, we don't think we will see a large, our housing market is slowing down, correct? I mean, we're gonna have some commercial that we're gonna bring on, but I don't see anything significant. So until I can see those numbers, I don't have a request for you for additional positions in the next 3 to 5 years, not for this department.
Carrie, do you want to talk about what's included in the class and comp?
The classification and compensation study, we have an organizational component. We've asked them to take a look at the organization as a whole and potentially look at a staffing model for us as well for the future.
Okay, and that's what I'm talking about, is to look at it as a whole, so we know each department-wide. Thank you.
One quick follow-up. Do you have any idea what the number of employees were in 2015?
2015, I do not, but if I remember off the top of my head, it was 118, but I could
Okay.
double check.
No, that's good enough. Thank you.
I'm gonna say 118.
Okay, looks like we're good.
Okay, back to Carrie, HR.
Oh, man, turned off my mic too soon. All right, this department, I have two enhancements. So the first is a additional HR risk analyst. You approved our first HR risk analyst about 2 years ago. Again, like I stated, the number of employees has increased by 50% since fiscal year 18. Researching organizations, like you asked questions about GFOA, so HR has the Society of Human Resource Management. They recommend a ratio of 3 HR staff or personnel per 100 employees. Adding the additional analyst will allow for some succession planning. As I've learned, we combined the HR risk function. Those two have been very, very large functions with the state mandates for training that come down and the number of claims that we've been processing. We feel the need for an additional analyst, so I can start a succession plan toward an HR manager and a risk manager, which is very common in other cities. We've processed about 36 general liability claims, and as council knows, the majority of those are being litigated these days. 41 workers' comp cases, 38 subrogation claims, and happy to report we've recovered almost $100,000 in subrogation claims in the last year and a half. We can increase the speed in recruitment and retention with an additional position. Again, I can kind of separate the functions between HR, but still allow HR and risk, but still allowing for some crossover, but just some more dedication to both of those functions so we can work towards mandated training, standardized training for departments and things of that nature. Focus on injury prevention protocols and reducing overall risks to our staff and our residents in town. You have any questions on that enhancement before I go to my second one?
Councilmember White?
No, I'm good.
Thanks. Councilmember Finn?
Yes, thank you. Carrie, just real quick, it's a little bit off topic, but how have we been doing on our attrition rate? Are we keeping our employees that we've been hiring and so forth? Is that improving? Are we steady or getting worse?
I will say this last year, we had a little bit of a spike with the number of employees we've hired. There has been a little bit of a change this past year, but prior to that, no, we've always remained relatively low. I think 9% or lower is what we usually trend.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Do you know what it was last year?
I think it was 7%, if I remember correctly. Yes.
Okay. Good.
All right. The second request from the HR department is a city picnic. It's I think a low-ticket item, but it's, would be beneficial for staff. We annually hold the benefits fair and the employee appreciation, which you know is your service awards ceremony. We'd like to add a family picnic type gathering where employees could bring their families, come out to one of our local parks, play some games and connect with some coworkers, just to boost morale, enhance communication, and strengthen our city culture. Provide a platform for families to get to know each other and just some game-friendly, what am I looking for? The word I'm looking for. Just some games to have some, yeah, we're gonna play softball. Show us how athletic you are or not and how competitive you are. That's what it is. Show our competitiveness and build stronger relationships. See what happens when I get off topic and don't read my script, huh? Be happy to answer any questions about that if you have any.
Looks like we're good.
Okay. Next, we'll go to communication.
Evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity this evening to speak. Today, I'm here to request your support for two very important enhancements, a support position within the Communications Division and a new digital message board outside here of City Hall. So I'm going to begin with the support position. And I'm going to tell a little bit of a story because that's part of my job. So here we are. There was a time when a flyer and a meeting and a word of mouth update was enough to keep the community informed. But those days are past us, and they've been past for some time now. Today, we operate in a world of real-time updates, digital platforms, heightened public expectation for transparency, and the need to tell our story more proactively. And so while we work hard to meet those evolving demands, the reality is our capacity is stretched thin. And that's why I'm asking for your support here today for a communications specialist to join under the PIO. So this role specifically will allow us to expand our print and video capabilities and continue elevating the way we share Beaumont's story. So over the past 2 years, you've seen how strategic communications can build trust, boost engagement, and spotlight the incredible work being done across every department. And however, Beaumont remains staffed with just one communications professional, while comparable cities our size, budget, and population have teams of 2 to 5 dedicated to communications. So that's why I'm here. In addition, demand has outpaced our capacity, so we've relied on outsourcing for video and photo to help us bridge that gap, but the solution really isn't the best for our city. It's not best for where we're at right now. So bringing this work in-house would allow us, number one, to respond more quickly to emerging needs and opportunities, and ultimately just tell more stories more effectively and in real time. Departments, too, are requesting more support from communications, for content, for outreach, and for support. And also to meet the expectations of our residents. So we need to connect in ways that are more timely, meaningful, and engaging. And so I had mentioned the position itself would do video, so community events, city updates, programs, real-time engagement. It will also enhance our print and digital materials. And most importantly, free up capacity to better respond to communication needs and storytelling. So I respectfully ask for your support, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a quick question. I think it's more for city manager than it is for you. Back to the general question on the new hires that you're asking for. Are all of these positions currently comped and classed out? Do we know what the values are, or are a lot of them new positions that so this number where you're saying it's 138,000 for a full-time employee, I have two questions. Number one, is that a number that we already know that that's what that's going to be, or are we going to, because I think in the past we've had to go out after a position was created and get an actual amount?
So we have NeoGov software that Carrie uses to class and comp positions. That is statewide or nationwide? Nationwide?
NeoGov is nationwide, and we also have GovInvest, and GovInvest is preset with our cities that we've been comping against for comparison. And so all these particular new positions were comped through GovInvest, through the standard set of cities that we use currently at their current salary rates.
My other question that I've asked before, it gets me in trouble, but I'd love to know what the job requirements are for these. Are we offering starting positions that pay $138,000 a year?
The dollar amounts that you see include benefits as well.
Right. No, I understand, but I can work the numbers backwards. We had a discussion years ago about $50,000 base pay for someone with a high school degree and a driver's license. And so I just want to know if we're doing that same thing here.
No, each of these job descriptions, if the positions are approved, each of the job descriptions would be created based on industry standards, and then some of them would have to be negotiated with the labor groups depending on where they fall in the MOUs or in the professional technical.
Okay, thank you.
Right, and if I can add to that, Carrie, jump in here. I don't think the comm specialist is entry level. Typically, is probably an AA and a bachelor's with a couple years of experience. So I wouldn't consider it entry level. It would probably be, I don't know if that's considered, that's not journey, but something like that.
That kind of information up front is very helpful for me. Because I may not be able to make a decision on what you pay that position because of all the things you've talked about. But if it's a position that I'd like to know what we're offering to pay for it, and if it's a lot of money for entry-level position, then I'll probably vote against that item. So I think that would be helpful to know what we're getting ourselves into.
Absolutely. So department heads, when you're presenting, you'll need to include that.
You don't
Right.
have to do it. I mean, they don't, if you know it tonight, yes, it would be
Okay.
helpful.
Sure. And that one-time cost there is equipment cost, so a camera and,
Okay.
right, video software and such.
So the actual annual on that is 129.
Yeah,
Got
right.
it.
And it's a range, right? They top out, they budget a top step for that purpose, not that we necessarily bring someone in top
Understood.
step. Yeah.
Understood.
And then if I may, to add on to that, so when we do our new class and comp, then the chances of that position being way out of range is not likely because we've already used the GovInvest or whatever you said. GovInvest to use that,
Not
okay.
unless there's significant market changes or there's changes in the cities that we use to comp against, correct? And same thing along those lines where we utilize the same cities, we looked at cities, we looked at comparative titles. We tried to ensure that what other cities titled this particular position, that's what we're bringing you tonight. And therefore, we would also look at the job description, like she said, industry standard, and copy that over as well.
Yeah, and I believe that that was one of the things that we had worked through because you had those specialty positions at one point in time that really other cities didn't have, so it was difficult to class and comp them. Okay,
So all these titles tonight are pretty industry standard.
Right, we,
Sure.
we don't have any position that is unique.
understood. Thank you.
Right, and if I could just make one more selling point. In the comparable cities, 2 to 5 is typically the comms department, what that is. So, that's what we're working with. Banning had 2, Hemet has at least 2, Eastville's 3.5, Lake Elsinore 2, Palm Desert 5, Paris 5. So typically, a video, photo, digital person is part of a PIO and some additional staff to carry out the functions of the department.
And obviously, that would offset some of the contract costs that we're
That's
paying
right,
today.
right.
So, understood.
Right, and so we outsource photo, video, and some creation of outreach material and documents. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I'll go to part 2 of my request, which is a CIP project of a updated marquee sign outside of City Hall. You guys may have seen it, and you should have the photo. If we can go to the next slide. Okay, so there's a visual there. So we have before, we have an after. There's the bottom left-hand corner. That's the bricks used for the Memorial Plaza. And so we would continue that same design aspect on the corner there. And the bottom right-hand is from another city. So something similar there. And so I'd like to propose a construction installation of a new digital sign in front of City Hall. As you can see right now, this current sign is both aesthetically outdated and difficult to see. It is difficult. It's a small sign. It's pixelated. It doesn't really reflect the modern image that we're trying hard to create outside of City Hall with the creation and project of the Memorial Plaza. And so to create that cohesive look, also in this proposal is a matching monument design across at the Civic Center parking. And so that wouldn't include the digital sign, but it would aesthetically look similar with better branding or updated city logo, and just kind of provide that visual identity across the Civic Center campus. And again, to share community events, council meetings, and other information for the public. Kind of what we do now, but you'll be able to see it. So thank you for your consideration. I'm happy to take any questions.
Councilmember White?
Sorry.
That's okay, no worries. Okay, looks like we're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. For finance. The Finance Department is proposing targeted enhancements to improve operational efficiency, enhance financial oversight, and keep pace with the city's rapid growth. These enhancements include 3 new full-time positions and an update to the city's cost allocation plan. These investments address increasing workload demands, formalize procurement practices, and support accurate cost recovery across all departments. So going into the cost allocation plan, the city's current cost allocation plan does not reflect recent organizational changes, expanded internal services, or updated cost drivers. An updated plan is essential to fairly distribute internal service costs, such as finance, human resources, IT, and administration, across enterprise funds, special revenue funds, and grant programs. An updated plan will improve transparency in overhead cost distribution, maximize grant reimbursement and enterprise fund recovery, and align with best practices under federal uniform guidance and GFOA recommendations. Moving on to the purchasing manager. Procurement activity has grown substantially in the past 5 years. The city currently manages over 460 active purchase orders and more than 700 active contracts across departments. Currently, the city has a hybrid purchasing model. However, finance only has one individual as the facilitator of these transactions. The average for a hybrid model in other cities is 3. Fiscal year 2024 saw over 58 million in purchases, many requiring formal bidding or contract compliance oversight. Without a centralized procurement manager, these responsibilities are currently shared among finance and department staff with other core duties, increasing the risk of delays, compliance gaps, and inconsistent vendor engagement. A purchasing manager will lead citywide purchasing operations and policy development, ensure compliance with public contract code and government code, improve turnaround time for bids and contract execution, and support training and oversight for departmental procurement liaisons. The next position being requested is a buyer, and this is to support growing day-to-day procurement needs. A dedicated buyer is needed to manage requisitions and purchase orders for all city departments, which averaged over 1,500 transactions last fiscal year, assist with informal bidding and vendor coordination, and improve tracking and documentation for audit readiness. The buyer will help departments comply with purchasing thresholds, expedite orders, and ensure accurate processing of vendor payments and delivery timelines. And the third position finance is requesting is an accountant. The finance accounting staff handles all journal entries, bank reconciliations, grant billing, and year-end close. As financial activity has increased with new grants, infrastructure projects, which funding has increased 850% over the past 2 years, and CFD growth, the workload has surpassed existing capacity. In fiscal year 2024, the finance team processed over 2,000 journal entries, comprising of a transaction count of 20,000, managed 62 active grant programs, and supported 82 improvement areas within CFDs with separate reporting and accounting. An additional accountant will help maintain timely reconciliations and close schedules, reduce risks of audit findings and reporting delays, and improve support for expanding compliance and reporting requirements, and stay up to date and informed on continued added GASB, Governmental Accounting Standard Board's pronouncements, 3 of which are taking effect in fiscal year 26. I believe we're at GASB 108, and about 10 years ago, they were at 68. So that's how many they've been adding. Organizational benefit, these enhancements are shown in green on the organizational chart and represent a strategic investment in long-term financial capacity. They address current staffing limitations, improve citywide support services, and ensure the finance department remains responsive, compliant, and well-prepared to support the city's continued growth and complexity. Much like the 10 freeway during Coachella and Stagecoach festivals, an under-resourced finance department becomes gridlocked, overwhelmed by volume, delayed in movement, and vulnerable to breakdowns in critical financial functions. I'm available for any questions you have.
On the accountant position, is that a 1 or 2 or 3, or do you have a growth like that?
We don't have any 1s and 2s. We already have one accountant currently, and this is a request for another accountant.
Okay. Councilmember White?
You know, it's something that Julie had brought up that was helpful for me and for the rest of you going forward, is that she had mentioned that the position she's asking for support on, or for us to create or approve, was doing stuff that was already being contracted out. So are you contracting out for some of this stuff, or are you overworked?
We have actually contracted some help this year with some reconciliations and things we need.
Okay.
I will say that the assistant finance director and myself also have to dig in and do some of the work as well, and it's become to be, I don't want to say cumbersome, but it's a lot. And so having the additional help will ensure that, we're able to continue on our regular functions and not have to jump out of those to assist.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Boyd?
Yeah, are there any like key performance indicators that you would be looking for some of these people? So like, for example, on the accountant, there were, I think you mentioned 2,000 journal entries. Is there like a max where you would then add a person, for example, or anything that you would be looking towards kind of adding that you're monitoring?
That's a really good question, and I've been doing some of those performance reports as I monitor our activity in our department, and it's exponentially increased, especially when it comes to the additional funding and CIP projects and things of that magnitude. I don't see them decreasing, at least not within the next 10 years. So I don't anticipate needing to request another accountant after this. I will say that I do hope, and I would say, I really hope that GASB kind of slows down and they stop adding pronouncements. I don't necessarily think there's a huge benefit to what they continue to do, but it does provide a lot of additional work on the accounting staff, as well as trying to figure out what some of that means and how we're going to incorporate it.
Great, thanks.
On a cost allocation plan that you talked about, back when I was working for the county building and safety, we did a lot of deposit-based fee program, and our goal was always to be self-sustaining. And so I know that I see we're going to be adding in that specific area an administrative assistant, something to that effect, or administrator, which is, I look at as an overhead cost. And so anytime that you pick up overhead cost, it becomes necessary for those who are billing time to pick up that overhead cost, so to speak. So would this cost allocation program, would that look at that, just to make sure that our productive hourly rates are being maintained?
Yeah, this is actually the beginning of what you would go into as far as that and your fee schedule, your fee study. It's the first process. What we're going to do is take a look at the cost allocation plan, see if it has significantly changed, but it would be the basis for those next steps. It does give you overhead rates, though, which then you can incorporate into your fully burdened rates, which is what you're talking about.
Right.
As far as billing. Correct.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Councilmember Finn?
Yes, thank you. If you, Jennifer, if you mentioned this earlier, I apologize that I missed it, but when I see buyer on there and I see procurement specialist sounds like a fancy way to say buyer. Can you explain the differences between the two positions?
So we have a procurement contract specialist, and then the request is for the buyer. So the procurement contract specialist would focus more so on the contracts. When we first got that position, I don't think we realized the magnitude of the workload. And so they are focusing most of their time on the contracts, bids, RFPs. All that has really taken a significant amount of time. So the buyer specifically would be more on the purchasing side as far as managing the purchase orders,
Gotcha.
vendors, you know.
That's, yeah,
receiving
and that's
all
what
that,
my
yeah.
mind is the
Right.
buyer. Yeah, okay, I got you, thank you.
Okay, good.
Next is information technology.
Introduce him. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jamie Salas, our IT manager, coming up to present our IT budget.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, the IT department is requesting 2 enhancements, a management analyst and a part-time GIS technician. The management analyst will work directly with the IT manager to help support strategic decision-making, streamline operations, and enhance service delivery. This will ensure the department can maintain financial accountability, improve internal processes, and focus more effectively on core technological initiatives that support the organization's overall mission. The current IT budget is $2.2 million. Currently, the IT department has approved over 247 invoices from July 1st, 2024 through April 16, 2025. IT second enhancement is a part-time GIS technician. The IT department is requesting the addition of a part-time GIS technician to support the GIS analyst in managing the increasing workload and growing number of GIS projects. With all departments now utilizing GIS services, the demand for technical support and assistance on long-term projects continues to rise. While we explored the possibility of hiring an intern, we were unable to find any qualified candidates interested in a GIS internship. Additionally, due to the sensitive natures of police department data, and any new staff member must pass a background check and complete CLETS training, which is a requirement under this position. Hiring a part-time GIS technician will ensure project needs are met securely and efficiently, while maintaining full compliance and data sensitivity and security requirements. From fiscal year 23-24, the GIS team has completed 15 total projects between major and minor projects. Our current fiscal year, 24-25, the GIS team has completed over 30 projects, which include major and minor projects and 5 currently active projects, while providing updates to actively used GIS applications for the different departments. My vision for this department is to continue to build the department by adding staff over the next 5 years. Specifically, when the new PD facility is built, we will need to be able to add staff there as well. That is my overall goal with the IT department. I wanted to provide you guys with some basically industry standards on when it comes to IT staff. And unfortunately, there is actually no standardizations for IT ratios based on staff or how many devices. But what I did find from NIST, or as a National Institute Standards of Technology, they provide a common general trend, which basically states that 1 IT staff member per 25 employees for small and business companies. Currently, the city of Beaumont has 247 employees. So if we do the math on that, we are a little thin on our employees, but I just wanted to provide some of that information for you guys. Overall, again, my goal is to, over the next 5 years, is to continue to build and grow the culture and our IT staff. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Councilmember Finn?
Yes, thank you, Jamie. Questions for you about the part-time position. I just think of the frustration it might face in finding a part-time person. How are we getting by now, or is that contract work being done? Is it being done by contract work? 'Cause I think that's what we did before we had our GIS analyst. Is that correct?
Correct. We did, this was contracted out prior to us bringing GIS in-house. Currently, a lot of the projects we do have that are being hit by GIS are long-term projects, which deals with a lot of data entry on the back end, while trying to provide service for all the other departments. As our GIS staff is only 1 at this time, he's becoming very inundated with major and bigger projects that have, I would say, quick or fast timelines that need to have a quick turnaround time. And so with some of the longer projects, he has to try to prioritize to get those done in, I guess, a fashionable time in regards to getting those done for each departments that are requesting them. So he's having to find ways to get them done at a quicker time, just him. He's also had to come in on some days off to try to finish other projects that he's unable to do with his normal work.
So is this type of work, is there like independent contractors out there that kind of freelance between cities? If we found a part-time person, would they be part-time somewhere else at the same time? Would that be the type of candidate we would expect to find? Or would it make some sense to maybe to contract the work out until the workload is large enough that it be a full-time person?
I'm really looking for potentially an entry level, somebody straight out of college that could help with this type of work. Contract work, we potentially probably could if we needed to go that route. But I'm looking to try to keep this in-house, especially when we're dealing with police data. Again, outside contractor, we need to have them run a background check, making sure that they can deal with that type of data. So all of my staff are background checked and CLETS certified, which allows them to be able to view and work with police data.
Okay, and I appreciate your comment and explaining that might be right out of high school, so it's more entry level. So that
Yeah.
makes a little more sense that, perhaps maybe it's a college student that's doing that work part-time or something.
It would be more of a college student coming straight out of college.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
all
gonna
right.
say, we're looking honestly for an intern, is what we talked about initially. But there's some legal requirements on interns. They can only be an intern for no more than a year. You can extend their term, but after a year, you have to terminate. There has to be more of a benefit to the intern than the city. So we changed it to a part-time, hoping that we'd get an intern in the beginning and potentially turn it into a part-time, so we have less turnover, but that's the
Okay,
goal.
that's
The college
helpful.
intern.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor Pro Tem Boyd?
Yeah, just a quick question maybe for the city manager. Do we know, in my current day job, when I'm requesting new positions, I can often offset that with overtime costs? Do we know overtime costs and if we are going to be saving any with the new positions, or if anybody knows that, I think that would be beneficial as well.
During the budget sessions with the departments, we do look at the overtime cost to see if that is justification for another body. Number one, we don't want to burn out employees, and
Yeah.
number two, it doesn't make sense to continue that expectation of high number of hours. And so, yes, we do individually in the individual department meetings.
So when calculating this from an operating standpoint, are you taking the salaries of the additional plus the overtime that was built in for last year? Because then you would be double counting for those.
I don't follow you.
I guess what I'm saying is if we're looking at what we're projected to spend for 24, 25, and then you're adding the full-time costs on here, you're not really offsetting the savings of the overtime with the new positions if you're just adding that in.
So as an enhancement, it's not added in yet.
Okay.
So that would be done after the enhancement is improved. Because if the enhancement isn't approved, we still need that dollar amount. You're talking about the line item in the overtime.
Yeah, I'm trying to think through if we're saving on overtime, that's already added in as an operational cost, and then we're adding in the salaries, then it's not really reconciling correctly.
Correct, and that's done after the
After.
enhancements are approved.
Jamie, looking at your staffing levels, and as you indicated, it looks like you could use more IT analysts. Will this management analyst be able to assist the IT analyst, or are those two positions not interchangeable?
No, they're separate. We had a discussion that potentially with the management analysts that they could help in a lower level part of help desk where they could potentially answer phones and take in ticket requests from an IT perspective. Most of my staff are they're very skilled at what they do, and if somebody comes in and has no skills at certain levels, then again, it's really more of an entry level type of thing if we wanted them to assist us in some form of IT.
Okay. Looks like we're good.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to economic development.
Mayor and members of the City Council, as you know, economic development was separated from community development, so now we have two separate departments, and I've been given the task of managing both economic development and community development, so you're going to see two different presentations. And with us, we have our new Economic Development Director, Mr. Kurt Peltzer.
Thank you, Gus. Mayor and Council this evening. For economic development, a lot of the heavy lifting and build-out of the team has already occurred during this fiscal year. So what you have before you tonight is a relatively small and modest suggestion of some additional resources of $25,000 to procure an economic development software package of some kind. We haven't done an RFP or anything yet, but moving from a department of one to a department of three, we're going to have the need to sort of consolidate information, things like a business concierge program, business retention and expansion records, lead tracking, constituent relationship management, and those kinds of database needs. We foresee the need for something like that. So we would propose that you approve this additional enhancement so that we can go about the work of procuring something like that to tie those operational needs together.
Okay. Well, Councilmember White?
I think you're the winner so far.
Sorry? Yeah.
Way to keep it low.
I lead a charmed life.
Can we add another zero?
We're good, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And Mayor and City Council, so under the Community Development Department, you also have Planning, Building and Safety, and Community Enhancement, which is our Code Enforcement Division. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and have our Senior Planner present. As you know, we have a vacancy with our Community Development Director and also with our Planning Manager. So I'm also helping you with those tasks. So Elizabeth has me pretty busy. So with that, our Senior Planner, Melody.
Hi, good evening. So as mentioned, I'm the Senior Planner with Community Development. In the upcoming budget year, the department is respectfully requesting a succession planning position for an administrative assistant. This is to support the critical daily operations of building, planning, and code enhancement. This strategic role is essential for maintaining operational continuity, improving service delivery, and preparing for anticipated staff transitions due to increasing workloads. A dedicated succession planning position ensures that institutional knowledge is retained and there is seamless support for existing staff as responsibilities shift. So in regards to experience, this would be someone, as mentioned, with customer service experience who has some sort of government interactions with the public and such. The day-to-day operations across building and planning and code enhancement are increasingly complex and time-sensitive. This position will provide immediate support in managing permitting, plan checks, zoning reviews, and code compliance, thus helping to reduce the processing times and improve public satisfaction. Staff has looked at 4 different cities with similar populations to Beaumont, and each have at least one administrative assistant for their respective community development departments. At this time, our department does not have a designated staff to provide support in terms of clerical tasks. These are done by our professional and technical staff, so our planners, planning technicians, maybe even managers. The administrative assistant position provides valuable support to community development departments and are commonly a part of these teams. For example, some of the tasks the administrative assistant can support the department with is invoicing, data entry, mailing, noticing, and letter preparation, mandated state reporting, as well as assisting with public records requests, which involve the entire department at times, and then other clerical support. This type of support would allow planners to focus more on processing of entitlements and ministerial planning permits, as well as advanced planning efforts such as the general plan, 5-year review, and implementation. It would also help building staff focus on plan check reviews, calculating fees, issuance of permits, and other critical tasks, as well as our code enhancement staff to focus on managing of code compliance cases and then conducting inspections or other tasks that are required in the field. The administrative assistant position will be a position shared among the 3 divisions for community development and will act as a cross-functional resource allowing for internal mentorship, training, and knowledge sharing. Overall, it will strengthen the department-wide capabilities and reduce dependency on a single role expertise. With this, I conclude my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Only question I have is, as an administrative assistant, and you're looking at the succession plan, you're just talking about being able to keep historical knowledge, right? As opposed to having each individual section have their own, this is one person that would kind of keep those.
Correct. It would be almost as a generalist type of experience that, you know, even if there's a planner that's gone, they've worked enough with each department that, or any other staff of the department, they have that knowledge where they know maybe where files are located. They know how to do a public records request and such. It would be across the division and would have that knowledge.
Okay. See no other questions at this time. Thank you.
You're
Okay, we'll go on to community enhancement.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to ask you for your support in adding one additional community enhancement officer to our team. This isn't just about adding a position, it's about keeping up with how much our city has grown, the increasing demands on our staff, and doing our part in maintaining the quality of life for our residents, and that we want to continue. To put things into perspective, over the last 10 years, our population has grown by more than 12,000 people. That's a 35% increase. We've also added more than 5,400 new homes during that time, and yet throughout all this growth, we've continued operating at the same staffing level of 2 officers. That growth means more neighborhood, more properties, more calls, and concerns from our residents. And while our current staffing has done an amazing job trying to keep up with all the work, in reality, with close to 60,000 residents now, we just need more support. So bringing on one additional officer would give us the capacity to stay ahead of the issues and better serve our communities. It's not just about enforcement, it's about improving the overall look and the feel of our city, keeping neighborhoods safe, making sure people are proud of where they live and work. So a few key areas that we're looking at enhancing that will help, this additional officer will help us make an impact on is our commercial landscaping. We'd be able to focus on improving and maintaining the landscaping in our business areas. When those spaces look good, it boosts the property values and it brings new businesses and helps build pride in our community. The abandoned vehicle program, cars left abandoned and operable on the streets aren't just an eyesore, but they can also create a safety issue and lead to illegal dumping. With another officer, we can respond to these situations more quickly, but it should be noted that the staff time used to tow these vehicles, in addition to the towing expenses, can be reimbursed through the AVA program. And then lastly, the sidewalk vending. We know that sidewalk vending adds energy and culture to our cities, however, but it also needs to be managed properly. So with this officer, they would be able to assist us in making sure vendors are following the rules, staying safe, keeping our sidewalks accessible, and balancing their needs with the community's expectations. So as we are growing, and we need to make sure that we're growing responsibly. I truly believe this addition is a smart and necessary step that we need for our department, and I hope that you support the position of an additional community enhancement officer. So with that, I'm open to any questions.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Boyd?
Yeah, with the addition of this one, would we be looking at adjusting hours and potentially be doing a nights and weekends kind of role or something along those lines to capture the sidewalk vending that's occurring after hours?
Yeah, we've had discussions about that already, yeah.
Councilmember Finn?
Yes. Have we seen an increase in inquiries since we put the city app out? Like when somebody calls, like a neighbor, an upset neighbor is calling because they see light throughout the city or something like that, is most of the requests coming from phone calls, or, did we put the app out and now all of a sudden people are taking advantage of it, and so now we have a greater need to go resolve it?
Yeah, the call load has increased significantly with the app because it's a lot easier for them to get on their computer or their smartphones and submit a complaint against their neighbor.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Looks like I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and police.
Okay.
They're different.
We're always different. Mayor, council, good evening. Under 2050 for the police department, we have a couple enhancements. Two of them are positions. The first one is going to be a third lieutenant for the budget. Right now, the department has two lieutenants, one assigned to the operations division and one assigned to the support division. Our patrol operations division is a 24/7 operation, but our lieutenant works 4 days a week. So our goal is to add a second lieutenant to the division and put them on the other side of the week to make sure we have better coverage across the 7 days compared to the 4 days. In addition to that, last year, we had California Post, the Peace Officer Standards and Training, come out and do a staffing audit. And in their recommendations was to add additional management to patrol for that exact purpose, to provide more management oversight across the week. So adding a third lieutenant to our budget would improve operational management oversight throughout the week. It increases proactive management resources in high liability situations. It provides consistent support, guidance, and mentorship for our staff that work weekends, and provides overall better risk management for the organization and the city. This position also requires a vehicle that you'll see in the enhancement, which is why the first year there's a higher cost and the ongoing costs after that drop. The second position we're asking for is one police officer. You will see in the June 3rd agenda that we're going to be asking to enter an agreement with PACT for a second PACT officer. And PACT is the Post-Release Accountability Compliance Team. It is funded through AB 109. That's the Public Safety Realignment Act of 2011, where they were realigning all the prisoners and people in jails and moving them back out to the streets if they were convicted for low violent offenses. So this team specializes in monitoring and supervising and investigating at-risk and repeat offenders who are on probation and parole. And as our population grows, we're seeing more people in our city that are under that category. So adding a second person to that team, which is salary and overtime, is reimbursed by the county, and they reimburse $50,000 for the vehicle. Adding that second body would just bring more resources in, puts more on the team, so when we need help in our city, we have it there for us available. The last item under 2050 is the Mindbase. No, I'm sorry, I got two more. The Mindbase Wellness app. Right now, we have an app that provides resources, but employees have to seek it out. They have to log into the app, find the resources they're looking for, and then get services. The problem is with that is we all know the people that need these services the most are not the ones looking for it. We always hear when someone commits suicide, they weren't looking for help. So we wanted to find a system that's more proactive, that doesn't let people fall through the cracks. So what Mindbase is very similar, but it's proactive. It integrates into our dispatching system. It identifies certain calls that are high stress and alerts and assigns our peer support people to check in with them. It's not just one check-in, it's routine check-ins. Okay, you've checked in with this person, they meet certain criteria. Okay, you're gonna check in again with them in a couple days, in a week. And what's great about this program is it doesn't just focus on police officers. It focuses on the dispatchers who took the call and the record staff that had to review that report and prepare it for court. So it doesn't leave anyone around that will fall through the cracks. And that's why we find value in this. The cost for this is actually the same yearly cost of the system we have now. So we're gonna be canceling that, going to this, and unlike the previous one where it's the same amount every year, the $15,000, this one's $15,000 up front. All additional years will be half that. So we'll actually be saving money and providing a better service to our people.
Can't approve the picnic until next year. That's gonna pay for it. Just kidding.
The last one is Urban SDX software. This software is $21,725, which will be split. Our costs will be shared with Public Works 50-50. And what this is uses cell phone data to deliver comprehensive insights into traffic speeds, congestion patterns, and time-specific trends. And we want it for the police department so we can use this data to strategically deploy our traffic enforcement resources more effectively. It will give us hard data on where the violations are occurring, where the speeders are, and where the congestion is. Right now, we respond to monthly reports of where all the traffic collisions are, or where we get citizen complaints. Sometimes citizen complaints, they may have seen one speeder on their street, but when they call, they're going 100 miles an hour down the street every day. That's the call we get. This data will show if that's actually occurring or not, and we can deploy the resources there. So before I move on to the next department item or budget item, is there any questions on these?
Mayor Pro Tem Voigt?
Yeah, I just had one on the PACT officer. Do you plan to put them on either side of the week so you have full coverage?
For the PAC, no, they're a team. They go to every house, do these high-risk searches as a team. So we're just adding more people to that team. Most agencies in the county are. And then when we need them, we just have more resources coming in. But they'll be working the same shift together.
Very good, thank you.
It'll be the lieutenant that will be working weekends.
Councilmember Finn?
Yes, thank you. Could, for just a brief explanation, can you give what would be expected in terms of, for the lieutenant position in terms of service experience and education that's required?
Absolutely. To be a lieutenant, you have to have at least 10 years' experience and a bachelor's degree. And I believe, Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 or 4 or 5 years supervision experience?
And would a lieutenant expect to go up the ranks from corporal to sergeant and then lieutenant?
Yes, yeah, we
Okay.
don't bring people in straight into a lieutenant. So yes, they spent their time as an officer, built those skills, built their supervision skills as a corporal, and then sergeant, and now they're ready for management level.
Okay.
So the reason that this would be an FTE is because you would typically look to promote from within but backfill the position, correct?
Exactly.
The vacancy. Okay.
Exactly, yes.
Councilmember White?
Are you fully staffed already with all the positions that have been approved?
We were until last week. An officer just left us. Her family life changed. She moved closer to home.
Okay.
So we're going to be filling that spot. But we recently gave a conditional offer to our vacancy position, and there is a chief vacancy right now too.
Okay, thank you.
And it is a bachelor's degree, 6 years of experience, 2 years at least at a supervisory level comparable to a sergeant.
All right, thank you.
Looks like we're good.
All right, police support. In this category, we're asking for 2 dispatchers. The reason why is the city has grown, every other department in the police department has grown, but the dispatch center. They've not seen any additional spots in over a decade, even though our call volume increases on average 5% every year. Last year, we had 56,900 calls for service. That's almost a 4,000 increase from the year before. Our dispatchers are getting taxed, they're getting stressed. Their staffing model right now is minimum staffing. It's 2 on every shift. So if there's a sick call out, if there's a vacation, we have to fill it on overtime. And that's 12-hour shift overtime every single time. Last year in 2024, we had 2,446 and a half hours of overtime in dispatch. That's an average 7 hours a day. To support our concerns that post-staffing audit recommended that we add swing shifts into dispatch. So we're asking for 2 positions to put on swing shift. And with those positions, if there is a call-off, if there is coverage, we don't need 12 hours of coverage. There's someone there that will cover the overlap, and if they need to, they just adjust their hours at the beginning or at the end for just 2-3 hours till the next shift comes in. So there's always an overlap between days, swings, and graves. So we anticipate, after we hire the 2 positions and train them, we anticipate a reduction in overtime costs. You'll see that one position is asking to fund now, so we can hire someone and train them. And the second position funds mid-year. And the reason for that is our training capacity, we can only handle 2 trainees at a time in the communications center. And we're already hiring a dispatcher right now to fill a vacancy. So I don't want to overwhelm our staff. So we'll train 2 now and then train the extra body mid-year.
Councilmember Finn?
Do we have room for another dispatcher?
Yes, we do. We have 3 working stations right now, and we're working on installing the 4th. So we can, with a trainer, we already use all 3. So if we have full staffing, 2 dispatchers, a trainee, and a swing shift person, we have all 4 workstations ready.
Is that 4 workstation, is that max capacity for the building and the space?
That is max capacity in our current facility, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the
Continue,
next
please.
item is our cage storage. Our property and evidence storage location in our police department, we've exceeded our capacity. And with the laws changing where we have to hold on to evidence even longer, we would like to cage an area in the nutrition center so we can have a place to store long-term and bulk evidence items and free up space in the station. It's the building right across the parking lot right here. It's animal control, and then it's right behind it. Right now, we use it for storing the motorcycles, evidence vehicles, but for property and evidence that we've actually seized from a person, we need to keep that by law locked up in a secure area. We just can't put it behind a door. So it needs to be caged, only specific people in the department are allowed access, and who comes and goes from that area is recorded.
It's from when it was Summit School.
If you look at it from the street side, it's still, you can still see nutrition center on the building from all the years of aging. So we refer to it as nutrition center.
I thought it was to cage up the food in there.
That's the next item I'm gonna ask
That's what I
for.
need. I need that on my pantry.
Okay, for animal control, right now we're operating without an animal sheltering contract. Our old contract, we're using them, but it's on a verbal agreement, which can end at any time. We've been in the search for a new sheltering service, and the last company locally we were talking to, we negotiated a cost of $600,000. That fell through, but we're asking to have that amount prepared for when we find a service, it's available for us to move forward with contracting with animal sheltering services.
Probably don't know this, but do you have any idea what Banning is budgeting for?
I do not know that.
Okay.
Continue, please.
Okay. The next is, we're asking for 2 cameras. Last year, we equipped every other police department building with security cameras, and we would like to add the same quality cameras to our animal control building, primarily because as we are without a sheltering contract, we're starting to temporarily house animals in that building more, which means there's going to be more interaction with the public at the door when we release dogs to them, and we'll like the entrances recorded, so there's better liability protection for the city, no allegations of a fall or anything happening, and then the other camera inside, keeping an eye on the animals that are staying the night in the facility, where our dispatch center can monitor it. If there's a dog that is caught in the cage or something going on, an officer can respond promptly instead of finding an injured animal in the morning.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, community services.
Oh, this Ramos here, my goodness. Council, good evening. I have an opportunity to discuss some enhancements for our Community Services Department. And the first item you see in your PowerPoint is just our organizational chart. The first division that we're going to talk about is 1550. This is our recreation services, our community services. The key word for this particular department right now is growth. Our department has been adding numerous events and recreational programming since coming out of COVID and adding some additional staff a couple of years ago, and we've seen this growth pretty consistently through all of our different events. We've added events such as our Hispanic Heritage event, our Dia de los Muertos memorial ceremony. Cherry Festival Parade now is on our list. We just finished up our successful color run, and just a couple of days ago we had our Easter egg hunt with the teens and tweens. We're adding Breezing Through Beaumont, a Hanukkah event in December. So we continually are adding different events in our department, and we are requesting, as part of that, some additional full-time recreational specialists. So these are some full-time workers that will allow us to implement more programs, have some full-time support at some of our different events. As we continue to have and house these different events across the community, we are running thin on full-time staff that can be in multiple places at multiple times. Along with that, we're also requesting 2 part-time recreational specialists. These part-time recreational specialists play a vital role in not only just unlocking facilities and being present when rentals and different things are happening, but these are really our individuals who are the hands and feet of our particular events and programs. They're the ones doing the setups. They're the ones interacting immediately with the community as they come in to use the services or house an event there or be part of the basketball program or whatever it may be. When their paths cross with our department, it's usually our part-time recreation specialists who are those first contacts. And as we continue to grow, not only in events, but also with recreational programming, we're requesting some additional services. One of our bigger increases this last year is obviously with the Beaumont Nights, going from 7 to 15 nights during the spring and summer. Is something that is going to be taxing on staff and making sure we have things that are going on. So we're at the point now where it's not just one thing happening at one particular time in our department. Just because half of our staff are over on Beaumont Avenue for Beaumont Nights, we still have basketball and we have open gym and we have classes and different things happening at our recreation center. We have things happening at our sports park and different reservations throughout our town. And so we need that support. We've seen a huge increase in just the amount of people that are coming through our programs. I had our staff pull some different statistics for us for Rec Desk, which is our registration program. So every individual that registers for any recreation program has to do it through Rec Desk. And currently this year we have 18,660 reservations and registrations just to date through this fiscal year. This is a 5% increase from the same time frame last year. And since we started the Rec Desk program about 3.5 years ago, we've seen over 53,000 active profiles created for our programs. And so our recreation programs are really becoming a successful thing that our department is offering. We're also increasing the aquatics program. Last year we ran a successful aquatics program up at Beaumont High School. We only ran it for 2 weeks, for 2 programs, 2 sessions. This time we're doubling that to have 4 sessions. We're also going to be adding water aerobics. And so as we see those parts of our offerings expand, we need to find ways to backfill those positions, and that's what these requests are for the 2 full-time recreation specialists and the 2 part-time recreational specialists. As we have begun to do these events and on an ongoing matter, you'll see also on our slide in our capital purchase requests, there's certain things that we feel that would be more cost efficient for us to purchase that we would have on our own versus renting it on a consistent basis. So currently for our Beaumont Nights, we have to rent generators. We provide electricity for some of the vendors and food vendors that set up. We're paying over $10,000 a month just in generators. And that's why we're requesting $150,000. This will allow us to buy multiple generators that we can house and use not only for our market nights, but we can use them for different events. We can also use them in case of an emergency. They'll be big enough and powerful enough to power, say, a lift station or something that would be able to be significant in case of an emergency. On top of that, for the generators, we're also renting things like light towers. And so those are costing us between $3,000 and $4,000 a month just to rent those. And we feel it would be more efficient to us to be able to have those on our own. Plus, it'll allow us the opportunity to increase security and increase safety at different events versus having to rent them all the time and use the staff time to drive out to Ukaipa or different places to pick those items up. As we continue down some of the capital purchase items that we're requesting, you'll see a vehicle. This vehicle is to be used for the recreation department. It's a small, we're hopefully looking at a small pickup truck that can help us in transporting items to different events. We are seeing things that it's harder to stick 5 or 6 easy-ups inside of a small SUV and do it safely and in a way that's not going to draw attention from the police. And so we want to make sure we have proper vehicles to do that and make sure that we can do it in a safe way. But again, also it's the being in multiple places at multiple times thing. So we need vehicles to be able to transport some of the things. Skipping down one, I'll come back to the feasibility study, but we're also, the golf carts is another item that we're renting with Beaumont Nights, and we've rented them also for some of our special events and different opportunities where we can transport citizens, or we can do different things where we can get people from A to B in our different golf carts. Right now, that's about $400 to $500 a week just to rent a few golf carts for us. And so, again, some of these costs are going on an ongoing basis would be better and more beneficial for us if we were to purchase them ourselves. The last item I'd like to speak about is our community center feasibility study. In the next couple of weeks, as we wrap up the Parks Master Plan and we bring that presentation to our Parks and Rec Committee and then also to our City Council, we're really excited to see what some of the findings are and knowing what's coming from this. One of them is definitely how do we work with a community center and what is the feasibility of having a second community center. It's definitely one of the recommendations that's coming from our Parks Master Plan, and you'll see that in the presentation. And so we would like to kind of get ahead of the curve and be ready for that so that we don't have to waste any time once that Parks Master Plan is completed. This feasibility study will also give us an opportunity to look at things like what's the most feasible location, what are some design elements, what are some things that the community has said that they need, where are some of our holes that are identified in the Parks Master Plan process, and then now how can we begin to do concept designs and different things along those lines. So that's what the request is for our community center feasibility study as well. So these are the requests in our 1550, that's our recreation side of the house. As we continue through, any questions on 1550 before I go to 6050?
Councilmember White?
Yeah, how many night generators and how many towers, light towers?
We're looking at, if we go with used generators, we'd be able to get 4 different generators. But probably if we went with new generators, the only downside is it's a longer lead time, but it is, we'd probably be able to get 3 generators. Right now, for market nights, we use 2 generators, 2 very, very large generators. We would get 1 very large generator and 2 medium generators.
And then the light towers?
Right now, we're getting 4 light towers.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Finn?
All right, mine's going to be an addition request. Doug, you've heard me say this before, but how about some city logo stamped kites for our next PSP event?
Got it.
Perhaps maybe we could do a kite day in Beaumont or something like that.
Beaumont will have a kite day. We will incorporate some kites, and they will be branded and marketed, and they'll have amazing logos. Easily done. Won't even make you have to put this or resubmit anything to Jennifer. We don't want to do that to her. Yeah, I will find that. Absolutely.
Currently, I understand you guys are extremely busy. Are you doing a lot of overtime as well?
We are. We do have some overtime that's in our budget for some of our maintenance. And then also, we have some of our staff that will, for special events, that are eligible for overtime. And so some of our current full-time employees, our coordinators, there is some overtime budgets that they're using.
So these new positions would have been, not eliminate all overtime because they don't cover all the positions, but would they help?
It wouldn't eliminate all of it because some of our events do happen at overtime times, late in the evening or whatever it may be. But there would be opportunities for us to not have, to be able to spread out the staffing so that full-time employees are present at all the times.
Any trailer purchases to get these generators or light standards moved around, or do we already
They're all
have that covered?
towable, so they all hook up to the hitches that are on
Oh.
our trucks. Yes, all towable.
Okay. Councilmember Finn?
Yes, is that needed for the golf carts?
We have trailers that in the mornings, they would transport, say, lawnmowers. We have those same trailers available to
Oh,
us, so
okay,
we
nice.
would be able to
Okay.
use those for golf carts.
All right.
And they'd be charged at the CRC, these two.
Okay, looks like we're good.
Our 60/50 are parks and grounds maintenance. The key words are efficiency and sustainability. The first enhancement that you'll see is for the position of an assistant director. This department is currently managing an increasing number of maintenance and park facility improvements, community programs, and they all require additional oversight to ensure timely and successful execution. As project demands continue to grow in complexity and they continue to grow in scale, we feel that this position is necessary to maintain department efficiency and ensure alignment with the city's strategic goals. The assistant director position, it provides essential leadership in projects, essential leadership to staff, and to implementing and executing timely projects. Additionally, this role will support the succession planning by developing staff and enhancing knowledge retention and creating a structured leadership pipeline for our department to ensure that we have long-term department stability. We are excited to see and for you to consider this possibility. This opportunity would allow for our department, which is one of the larger departments as far as number of employees, to have some oversight and additional individuals who can take significant roles in projects and to see them from beginning to end. Along with this assistant director position, there's a vehicle cost that goes with it as well in the capital purchase. You can see that listed below. This is for that particular staff. If one of the enhancements in our 60/50 Parks and Grounds maintenance is we are looking to add a utility golf cart. We call it a utility golf cart, but this one probably won't look very much like a golf cart. You probably wouldn't put clubs in it, but it would have a bed that can dump different things. It's a little beefier tires, a little more designed to transport things during events. One of the things that we're finding as we do these different events, is that we're having to transport items and transport things to various places, and this will be an opportunity for us to have something that can get in and out of certain areas without having to bring our larger trucks into, say, special event areas and whatnot. So we're asking for that enhancement as well as the assistant director position. Two more items in the capital purchases is the second thing is a boom lift. We feel that this is something that's needed for our operational efficiency as we do maintenance on lights, emergency maintenance on different trees, as we hang different decorations, hang banners. Right now, we have one boom truck that's in the city, but it's with another department who's a great partner to us and lets us use it when we can. But that department is exceptionally busy, and so we kind of have to wait for things to get done. This would give us an opportunity to have a boom lift that would be in our department that could handle some of the parks maintenance items that we need to address in a timely manner. The two vehicles at the bottom is as we continue to have more and more assignments and more things that cause our staff to be sent in various directions. We still have some staff that are doubled up in vehicles, and as we maintain the 18 parks, the multiple facilities, and as we are working on different events and different things, we're finding that there is a need to make sure that as many of our employees have vehicles. We feel that adding 2 more vehicles to our fleet in our department would increase our efficiency. So those are our enhancements and some of our capital requests for 60/50, which is our parks and grounds maintenance. If you have any questions at 60/50, please shoot them my way.
Looks like we're good.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to Public Works.
Thank you, Doug, for that 25-minute.
I see a
timer already going.
We already have a winner.
Yeah, council, if you'll pay attention to the org chart that was before you, similar to some of the comments you guys had expressed, Public Works does show some future positions. This is really Public Works projection through build-out. You can take a look and see kind of where Public Works is going for all divisions within Public Works. All right. So Public Works is requesting 2 assistant engineers for the CIP subdivision or division. These are entry-level positions to engineering, and they require a bachelor's degree and an engineering and training certification. The CIP division currently has 1 engineer and 1 project manager, in addition to the supporting role of senior management analyst. The city currently has 66 existing CIP projects that are managed or assisted by the CIP staff. The proposed fiscal year 26 CIP would add an additional 13 public works projects and 42 citywide projects, all of which will require some level of assistance from the CIP division. The total public works full-time employees is currently 22. With the requested positions, this will bring Beaumont's Public Works Department more in line with a per capita staffing level of similar sized cities like Upland, Palm Springs, Yucaipa, Paris, and Cathedral City. In addition to the staff, Public Works is also requesting an enhancement to perform a citywide speed survey to reestablish the speed limits throughout the city. The code requires an updated study to be performed every 5 years, and under certain licenses by PD, it could be extended to 7 years. We are due for a speed survey, grossly due for a speed survey. Okay, moving to the 2 CIP projects. I have a slide for it. So with general funds, these 2 CIP projects are being requested. The first one on your screen on the left is a storm drain inlet upgrade, where Public Works is requesting $100,000. The city is obligated to install trash collection devices in all publicly maintained catch basins. This is per our NPDES general permit. New development is currently conditioned to install these trash collection devices on all new catch basin. However, there are over 400 existing catch basins throughout the city that need retrofitting. The intent is not to tackle all of them at once, to make a programmed effort to be in compliance over the next few years. The next CIP is on your right on the screen. And this is a desert lawn slope repair. In approximately 2020, the slope along Desert Lawn adjacent to the Tuckwood Golf Course failed due to runoff overtopping the inlet and the slope. Staffers are requesting a CIP to restore the storm drain, restore the slope, and enhance the inlet to eliminate future issues. The storm drain is a temporary condition until Desert Lawn is widened to the ultimate width. Staff received the quote in the magnitude of $100,000. Staff will informally bid this project, and it is anticipated that the informal bids will be in roughly that same magnitude, $100,000 to approximately $150,000. The remaining funds after the project completion will be remitted back to the general fund. Any questions so far on 3100?
So this means you're not going to use the sandbags and the felt paper anymore?
We'll keep those and pour on top.
Councilmember White? Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
I'm just wondering if you see any other downstream effects that we might need to be working on with regards to the trash collection. There's not really anything more to say on it.
Okay.
Looks like we're good, sir.
So streets, 3250. The Street Maintenance Division of Public Works is requesting 2 street crew positions. The city has approximately 148 centerline miles, 120 miles of sidewalk, 2,000 streetlights, 20 miles of storm drain. Each of these categories continues to grow with new development. Since 2020, City Council has investigated significantly in rehabbing the roads, sidewalks, lights, storm drains, and and maintaining a high level of citizen request responses. In 2024, staff received 1,642 citizen requests. In 2025, staff received 980. This is the current year. These requests include potholes, sidewalks, sign replacement, weed abatement, sinkholes, faded or missing striping, broken streetlights, streetlights too bright, streetlights too dim, streetlights pointing at your bedroom, and streetlights not pointing enough at your neighbor's bedroom. So in order to keep this infrastructure in good order and continue to respond in a timely manner, additional staff is needed. Additionally, the Street Maintenance Division is requesting a maintenance manager. This position will be shared with a new proposed department, facilities. The street maintenance and facilities maintenance will require a full-time position to ensure that work orders are being received, issued, and resolved. The work order system requires a very exhaustive accounting method to comply with the KUKA. This position would also support field crews by purchasing equipment, supplies, processing invoices, coordinating activities, and providing a direct and positive response to citizen requests. As part of this position's request, a vehicle is also being requested. The Street Maintenance Division is also requesting an enhancement for tablets. The tablets will be located in the vehicles of the street maintenance crew. The intent is that these tablets would streamline response times, response measures, and record keeping for citizen requests. Maintenance and should city re-engage force account work. Each driver would be able to receive work orders on the fly and create a constructive response immediately. The tablets would be tied to accounting software, which will eliminate opportunities for error and inefficiencies when transposing written notes from street crew maintenance individuals. Any questions on street maintenance?
Mayor Pro Tem Voigt.
Yeah, just on the computers and the tablets, is this kind of a record-keeping component? Would they be taking pictures of before and after? And that's kind of time stamping what's been completed? Is that the goal?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They would also be logging their hours too. So if they show up at a project, we'd get real-time data instead of the day after, using their memory and most oftenly.
With the software, would it automatically upload to the accounting that we do, or would they require double entry, or?
So we use the same software as actually Thaxton and Doug, the Brightly software. So they would be keying in their responses directly to that web-based software.
From the site.
Yeah.
Those aren't going to be installed in the vehicles, right? These will be portable tablets that they would just take with them?
Yeah, so they're street maintenance workers with a habit of destroying equipment. So they would be mounted, however, they could be released to take the picture and then placed back. Yeah.
Okay. Just, one of the things that I ran into when we had mounted tablets was the cost to, when you got a new vehicle, of taking everything out, sticking it in a new vehicle, and then finding out that the new vehicle wasn't designed for the, you had to buy a new mount and everything, so just something to think about, but, okay. No other questions at this time?
All right. Lastly, facilities. Facilities is a proposed new budget department. The Facilities Division under the Public Works Department will be responsible for the maintenance and improvements of city-owned facilities at system levels, such as HVAC system, electrical system, structural system, and so on. The intent is to have dedicated staff exclusively focused on those facilities. Staff will focus on routine maintenance, preventative services, and major improvements. Routine maintenance includes items that need to be replaced frequency, routine inspections, and replacing wear and tear items. Preventative services are those services performed to extend the useful life of a system, such as filters on a HVAC system, sewer jetting, generator services, etc. And lastly, major improvements such as roof replacement, reconstruction, new flooring, etc. Staff's intent is to develop a develop a 5-year list of projects for each facility and program those improvements or repairs according to importance, funding, the actual user of that facility, and available resources. Staff is requesting 2 facilities maintenance workers to establish the baseline for the facility workforce. Currently, the city maintains 13 buildings totaling approximately 100,000 square feet, not including wastewater. Staff estimates that the 2 dedicated facility maintenance workers are the minimum necessary to maintain reasonable response time citywide. Staff is requesting 2 vehicles to support the facility maintenance workers as well. In terms of a general fund CIP, facilities is requesting the trucks and then also epoxy paint at Fire Station 106. The epoxy provides a much-needed slip resistance, protects the concrete floor and walls from staining and water damage, and adds an enhanced workplace aesthetic. So are there any questions on the new Department 6011?
Mayor Pro Tem Voigt?
Yeah, could you just repeat the total buildings and the stats that you gave there?
Yeah, sure. 13 buildings, 100,000 square feet, not including wastewater. That's like 5-6 square feet? Okay.
So with these 2 positions, what's Kevin gonna do?
We're
Kevin
offering
was-
him a position.
The list of duties that you read off seem like everything, I've seen Kevin do that, or I've seen Kevin do that, or. No.
Yeah.
So
I
you
don't
need
have the
2 more
heart.
Kevins.
I don't have the heart to take Kevin.
Yeah,
Doug will still
right.
have quite a bit of responsibilities with the custodial services
Understood.
and parks and everything else.
Okay. See no further questions? We're good.
Okay. That is all for the general fund enhancement requests. So we have worked on, city staff have worked on a long-term financial forecast with GovInvest. This is your worst-case scenario forecast. The forecast includes all fiscal year '26 enhancement requests. We added in a debt service payment in fiscal year 2029 for a future police station. and also included potential sales tax revenue loss. If council remembers, in March, there was a item brought forward to you on Cal City's sales tax working group. The recommendation from this working group was for e-commerce sales, 50% to be shared with those without those e-commerce fulfillment centers. And that was with a 5-year ramp up as recommended by that working group. And so that has also been included in the forecast. The city maintains healthy surpluses through fiscal year 2029. In fiscal year 2030, deficits begin, and that's primarily due to new debt service and potential sales tax reallocation. The city has hired a consultant to review revenue options to address these potential future concerns. Is there any questions on the forecast?
Nope. Not yet.
Okay, so post-enhancement, $405,000 remains in unprogrammed funds, and staff recommends considering these for one-time costs, minor CIP gaps, or added reserve contributions. So I will stop there and open it up to council before we move on to enterprise funds.
Looks like we're good.
Okay, we'll move on to enterprise funds, starting with wastewater. The wastewater fund is balanced with a surplus of $440,000. Revenues at $6,245,917 are growing due to rate study implementation and increased connections. And expenses are up slightly due to operational needs, coming in at $15.8 million. That gives you the surplus of $440,000. Are there any questions on wastewater before I move over to Thaxton?
Nope.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Wastewater Fund. If we can, you see the org chart as it is. We're, the next slide will show that we're requesting to add one operational staff member, and then we'll discuss a couple of the capital improvement items. Since bringing the wastewater operations in-house in 2018 in conjunction with the construction of the new wastewater treatment plant, wastewater staff has not added any operational positions. In that time, we've experienced increased flows, regulations, and ongoing wear and tear. With these come increased maintenance and operational activities. We are proposing the addition of one Grade 3 certified wastewater operator. The Grade 3 certification is the minimum required for an operator to make operational decisions, be by themselves, and take on-call responsibilities at our facility. Wastewater treatment facility is staffed 365 days a year. The personnel costs were programmed and reflected in the last rate study and supports our succession planning in the department. The capital improvement items, believe it or not, it has been 5 years since our very first wastewater master plan. Feel it's due to time to update that, especially with some of the projects coming into town. And then one of the things not incorporated in the plan expansion was a new influent flow meter. It is still the original. It is giving us some issues, and we'd like to replace that with modern technology. Flow monitoring is one of those new increased regulations where we have to report an annual volumetric report, so it kind of ties into some of the new restrictions that are out there. And with that, I'll pause for any questions.
Looks like we're good. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. What question? You're identifying an operator grade 3?
Correct.
You have wastewater plant operators. Are those different grade levels?
Currently, of our 6 operational staff, 4 of them are grade 3s and 2 of them are grade 2s.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay.
Okay. Now, so for some potential projects for bond refinancing proceeds, on September 11th of 2018, the Beaumont Public Improvement Authority issued $81.1 million in revenue bonds to finance the acquisition and construction of certain improvements to the wastewater system. These bonds have become eligible for refinancing, and to either generate savings on the debt or to provide resources for capital improvement. In some situations, both savings and resources can be produced. However, the market has been volatile in the past few weeks. The financing team will use the GFOA best practice for minimum net present value savings of at least 3%. However, should the market provide the 3% net savings, city staff have identified eligible projects that would create operational efficiencies and generate future cost savings while keeping the debt service the same or reduced. So the debt service is programmed within your current wastewater rate study at the level it is currently at now. Refinancing it, the option is you can either take the savings. However, there have been these projects that have been identified to reduce costs. So without including this project in a future rate study and by having the reduced costs, the idea is that that will keep the rates lower for future rate studies. If you have any questions on the specific projects, Thaxton's here and he can answer those for you.
No questions at this time?
And this is a picture of the solar generation.
We really think the solar project would be a great one to capitalize any use of bond cash that's available in the refinancing. It literally touches every single ratepayer. It helps offset future costs, and it has long-term benefits. So that's one we're really focusing on. We laid out a conceptual, and we're bringing an item to council on May 6th for future direction in any case.
Good. Looks like we're good for now.
Okay. And for the wastewater long-term fiscal forecast, the fund is stable through fiscal year 2035, assuming modest post-2028 rate increases, and surpluses will be used for reserve building and repair and replace funding. Okay, we good? All right. Moving on to the transit fund. On April 1st of 2025, the City Council approved the fiscal year 2026 short-range transit plan Table 4 draft. Transit is funded primarily through rider fares, EV charging, and significant subsidies by the Riverside Transportation Commission, RCTC. Total revenues and expenses are $3,562,668. And we have Elisa.
Yeah, we have Elisa Mendoza to present her personnel request this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Beaumont Transit is seeking one enhancement for a full-time transit supervisor. Currently, the transit manager has a frontline response to 2 lead drivers, 12 full-time drivers, 5 part-time drivers, office staff, 1 office staff member, and a vehicle maintenance supervisor. So this change is intended to provide a stronger layer of operational support in a more structured and accountable day-to-day operations, provide on-the-ground leadership to strengthen the workforce, support the transit manager with daily operational oversight, respond more efficiently to service issues, operator inquiries, and passenger disruptions. Also to improve operational consistency and reduce service interruptions. With freeing up some of the transit manager's time, it would help participate in projects from start to finish. For example, the comprehensive operational analysis, the microtransit feasibility, and bus stop improvement plan. We also have 4th and Veely Yard, Transit Yard. We have a zero emissions rollout plan that's happening in the coming years. Bus procurement, and with the implementation of each project could lead to a request in the future for more drivers in support of the transit passenger demands. And with that, I'd like to open up if you guys have any questions. Thank you.
Councilmember White?
So the transit supervisor is the position that you're requesting?
Correct.
I can't help but notice the cost of that. Is that a full-time employee?
Yes.
It is, okay.
It's an upgrade to an existing position. It would be an internal promotion.
Got it, it's just the upgrade then.
Just the upgrade.
Got it. Do we know what the total is
That's the
now?
average cost of an upgrade between a driver and a lead driver, bumping up to that level.
Got it, okay. So it's not a new position, it's just a promotion?
A promotion and
Creating a new position, okay.
Creating a new classification.
All right, thank you.
Would you be back, is your plan to backfill the vacancy that's left by this?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'm going to pass it over to Public Works Director for the capital improvement plan.
Ready for a lot of this. All right, so the proposed fiscal year 26 capital improvement plan is very robust. City departments are proposing 42 projects totaling $23 million. For this presentation, I'll focus on a few projects. The full list of proposed projects is included in attachment E and F and also provided as the handout. Attachment E is sorted by department and attachment F is sorted by funding source. Wildflower Park improvements proposed by Community Services. This project continues the city's initiative to replace aging playgrounds that lack shade and modern amenities with a focus on increasing comfort, safety, and community use. This project will replace the playground at Wildflower Park with a new inclusive play structure that includes a permanent shade canopy to provide sun protection and features updated surfacing and amenities for the community. All right, the second project is the citywide traffic signal system by Public Works. This project is proposed to implement the recommendations of the existing CIP project R25-07 Smart Tech at traffic signals. Staff anticipates taking the draft report to City Council in June of this year. The report will identify hardware, software, and implementation schedules, options, and alternatives for the citywide traffic signal systems. Staff intends to address any of council's concerns with the report and then finalize it immediately thereafter and then move directly into the implementation phase. The next project is Highland Springs Interchange, proposed by Public Works. In 2019, the City Council approved a cooperative agreement between RCTC, the City of Beaumont, and Banning for the PID, Project Initiation Document, also the Project Study Report phase of Highland Springs. The PID phase was funded by $2 million from WRCOG as part of the City of Beaumont settlement agreement with WRCOG. The total amount expended was approximately $500,000 for the PID phase. The project is currently in the PAED phase, which is Project Approval Environmental Document, and probably about halfway to 2/3 of the way complete through that phase. And it's really honing in on the alternative. RCTC is proposing to address council on June 17th to discuss the project and provide a more comprehensive update. The PAED phase was initially funded from the remaining balance of the initial $2 million provided by WRCOG. During a recent WRCOG TUMP zone meeting, the project received an additional $2 million, which has not been finalized. RCTC projects that the 1.5 from the original funding plus the 2 million TUMP funding is enough to complete the PAED phase. Therefore, city staff intends to take the next few years and put seed money away for the last design phase, the PS&E phase. The proposed $2 million at the end of 4 years would cover Beaumont's contribution to that PS&E phase. Both Banning and Public Works are aggressively seeking funding for this as well. Yes, I did focus on Public Works projects. All right, the next project is California Grade Separation, proposed by Public Works. This project proposes to construct a grade separation under the UPRR at the California Crossing. The project is anticipated to need federal funding for various phases. As such, the project will be a Caltrans project, needing a full PID, PSR, PAED, PS&E, and construction phase, which complicates the project and adds extensive length to its schedule. Consequently, staff is requesting seed funding for the next 5 years to accumulate enough funds to initiate the project to develop a PSR. Staff is also exploring grant opportunities to fund the planning and design phases sooner. All right, final project. The transit yard, proposed by Transit. They're receiving some grant funding. The city is proposing to develop a new transit yard on the 6.15 acre parcel located at the southwest corner of 4th Street and Veely Avenue. This is an existing CIP, so the intent of this is just to provide a brief update. This facility would primarily utilize the city's transit and fleet maintenance departments and will include an administrative operations facility, vehicle maintenance facility, hydrogen fueling station, compressed natural gas fueling station, electric vehicle charging infrastructure, warehouse building. This is written by our project manager and not an engineer, so I'm having a hard time. An outdoor secure storage area and designated parking with both uncovered and solar covered parking spaces. The city anticipates bringing a presentation to City Council on June 3rd to update the council on the progress. All right, so that concludes the CIP discussion. Back to you, Jennifer.
Well, we have come to the end of the presentation. We're looking for any additional questions from council and seeking any direction from council on changes or if additional information is needed, and the potential need for additional meeting prior to final adoption. And final adoption is set for council meeting on June 3rd. So with that, I'll open it back up to council.
Sure. Okay, we're going to take a quick 10-minute break, and then we'll come back with the questions and direction.
Sure. You want to plug in? Well.
Can you hear me, Benny? Try saying test one more time. It's not coming through. It's not working. Michelle's coming to you. Try one more time, Benny.
Test, test.
I hear you now.
Can you hear me now, Nicole?
Everyone's hungry. Appreciated the time. Who's joining you? I didn't get to call. I already had some.
Probably. I know I tried to push it. It's supposed to be days, so it's not sitting in my spelling round.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be cold for It's up to 48.
She told me that's told Nicole to you, and then I'm like, like mine's a protein bar though.
I feel like my dad.
Okay, and we're back. We left it we finished the budget presentation, and we are open for council direction and questions. Councilmember Martinez?
Thank you, Mayor. So I haven't said too much today. I've been listening to the very well-done pitching of your enhancements and, of course, my colleagues' comments that I appreciate. And I heard, loud and clear, we're growing our community, our services are increasing, and the demand for the services are increasing, and pretty much staff is stretched, and we're asking for help, and that's all understandable. the concern I have is the sustainability of those positions. I'm very pro-employee. I'm going to have a very hard time if times change and we have to start cutting. Because, you know, we can't cut a generator and we can't cut a car, but we have to cut the people. And what I'm afraid of is if we overextend ourselves too fast and those times come, then those are decisions my colleagues have to make with me. So it's the sustainability that I'm concerned about. So I appreciate the model. You know, nationally, we have consumer confidence, you know, weighting a little bit, going down. So it's kind of hard to predict. We show the revenue loss starting in 2029, which I kind of wonder if that's more conservative, more open on that number for the date. I'm concerned about, you know, once we get to 2030, the deficit spending. I'm concerned about the possible 50% loss for our tax base on logistics. I'm concerned that the class and comp study coming in will adjust, you know, and it's very needed if we need to adjust salary, but that's still a significant hit that we have to count for on personnel. And then I'm concerned about projects we have going that we still really haven't completed, that now with federal funding and all sorts of funding in jeopardy, whether we might have to dip into a general fund to make sure those projects come to fruition. So, you know, we have Stewart Park Phase 2, we've got the Second Street Extension, Potrero, even though we have $5 million put aside here in reserves, you know, there's still a lot of unanswered questions that we have based on uncertainty that we just haven't, you know, we haven't seen yet. And, you know, I understand that these are needed, and I agree that they're needed. But the concern I bring to my colleagues is to make sure that, you know, if we go through with all the enhancements that have been requested, both positions and operating cost enhancements, if we might be doing too much too fast. And if we hold true to the model, and if the model holds true, then we should be fine until we get to those years. And of course, I understand that's assuming we have police station debt service and so forth, so I understand that. But that's highly likely based on, you know, the direction that we're going. So to leave our general fund unprogrammed resources at 405,000, and then looking at our fund balance and going to our reserve at 9.2, you know, I get concerned because that's where we're tapping in to come up with a difference on some of these projects that, you know, that are in the process. And we've always said, you know, let's finish something and not, you know, have something half done. But then, of course, you ask yourself, well, how do you get things done if you don't have the staff to do that? So I understand that. But remember, from a fiscal point of view and being one of the keepers of making sure that the whole city entirely is fiscally sustainable, you know, those are the concerns I bring forth to my colleagues. You know, so if we're comfortable that we can do this and that it is sustainable and that everything here is perfectly necessary, and we're comfortable with 405 and unprogrammed, you know, then I can support that. I would venture to my colleagues, if they would entertain, possibly adjusting some of these numbers to give ourselves a little bit higher of an unfunded balance, just to give ourselves a little bit of cushion. Now, if we don't think we need a cushion and we think we're okay with just the reserves we have, then, you know, that's something for discussion. You know, I would entertain looking at the position enhancements at 3.4 million and maybe pulling that down to 2.5. You know, if you do that, you bring 993 unprogrammed there, and if we take 2.7 from on the operating costs and pull it down to 2 million, then we have another 756 there. So we can possibly put in about 1.7 or so back into that 405 unprogrammed to keep just a little longer. But again, I'm open for discussion on that because I understand the need, And, you know, we don't want to overwork the employee, that's for sure. We don't want to lose good people because they're doing too much. I understand all of that. So it becomes a point to where we have to sit there, and I know we want to spend, well, we got it, you know, that's good. But then on the other hand, are we making sure that we're setting ourselves up for those times that could be changing a bit, and, you know, how would we react to that? So, you know, those are my concerns. I didn't talk too much about questions during, because, you know, how much you doing, what's the square footage, that stuff, you know, to me, staff can handle that. That's, those are technical things that I don't need to know about. But overall, the CM has presented this, and you've gone over these, and of course thought these were obviously viable because you presented it to us. But, you know, if the council were to entertain a little cutback to where you would have to adjust, you know, I'm perfectly fine letting the CM and the DCM decide, you know, where are we going to put that money if we need to. But I'm open. I'm not saying that I won't support this.
Right.
I just want to hear what my colleagues say about that. Am I being overly cautious? Are we good to go with this, and we'll deal with what coming our way? I don't know. I'm just bringing that up because I think it's part of my responsibility just to kind of put a little break on there and say, wait a minute, just think about this. And if we come up and say, okay, no, I think we can do this, and find that I'm okay with that. I just want to bring that up to my colleagues. So those are my comments on those steps.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Boyd?
Sure. I think I too, Councilmember Martinez, kind of had a little, only 409. It definitely gave me a little bit of a gut punch, I think, when looking at that number, especially looking in the past couple years that we've been sitting here. It's definitely been a different number, right? It's been more of like, hey, you have 6 million that's unprogrammed. You have 9 million that's unprogrammed. What do you want to do with it? And then I saw 408 and was like, oh, okay, that hurt a little bit. My question to you would be, do you have a number you want to work towards? My thoughts were, I felt like heading towards and getting closer to 1 million made me feel a little bit more comfortable, or at least kind of gave me something that I could, like I said, feel a little bit more comfortable. I think sometimes for me, if I get to a number, then I can kind of prioritize, but I also don't just want to start working to fit numbers in there to meet that million. And so that's kind of where I think I find myself, looking to have some further discussion about the positions, and really where we kind of find that. And do we think that we divide that between the operating? So what I'm looking for is essentially, where can we cut 600,000 is kind of what I'm looking at in my mind. And then is that 300 in operations and 300 in positions, or I don't think it's operations, whatever the other term is. But that I think is where I kind of land.
I too, it's a really good point. I think too, though, that we need to look at one-time costs versus ongoing costs. So if we're looking to cut, or if we're looking, let's just say we agree that the cushion we want is 1 million, there's going to be, is it 1 million just to have that's a cushion? Because your ongoing costs are going to get eaten up differently than your one-time costs. It's going to be easier to cut $1 million, or I should say easier, but to cut 600,000 of one-time costs, but having your ongoing costs is going to be a different type of an animal to address.
And Mayor, that's why I when I first suggested taking a little out of both, so that, like, if we were to pull out of the personnel request down and take out, let's say, 993,000, then that is a sustainable ongoing cost, because you pulled that out of that and you wouldn't see that coming back for that area.
Mm-hmm.
But, the numbers are for discussion. I'm just kind of like Mayor Pro Tem was. I was looking more at a 1.7, she's looking at a 1 million, all in that ballpark. To me, you're right, though, if you're going to do sustainability, it'd be more in the personnel costs, which hurts, of course, but, if you're looking at the ongoing savings, I agree.
Going over what we've done in the past, and typically what I've done in my past as well, is the positions that we identify are typically top of the pay scale for a full year. If we have to go back and crunch numbers for, let's just say, we agree to 500,000 ongoing and 500,000 one-time cost, is that something you can go back and look at? Because obviously, everybody isn't going to start effective July 1st, right? So if there's a way I'm asking this question as of colleagues, is there a way that we would be comfortable with maybe doing some hirings at mid-year next year, so you have an idea of where we're at? Other hirings could be, that are a higher priority, maybe are done closer to the beginning of the fiscal year, so that you can kind of analyze how the economy is going at that point. At least you have the position that's there, and it's just a matter of when it can be filled, or whether it needs to be, I guess, removed or not. But I do like a cushion. We are used to looking at larger numbers, so this is a little bit of a change for us. But I too would just, maybe if we can land on numbers that we want to present to staff and have them reevaluate, I'd be happy with that as well.
So Mayor, if I might just point out something that's in the staff report, and Jennifer, help me out where it's at. When we talk about the self-insurance fund, there is a recommendation. What page is that on?
Yeah. It's over here.
12 of 85, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a discussion with the self-insurance fund of 6.8 million. We received a large litigation. We settled a litigation case. And so that money has been sitting in that self-insurance fund. And that is something that council may want to consider. The policy requires that you keep 2 million in that. And so you have a significant amount of money in that fund if there's any kind of reservation or wanting to leave more money on the table.
Mm-hmm. Can you, Mayor, can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
Just to clarify to the public on the self-insurance, so we're self-insured up to a certain point, and then after that, there is an insurance policy that kicks in?
Correct.
Can you just elaborate very briefly?
The first of any case, the first $250,000 is city responsibility. It's your insurance. Like your car insurance, you have, what's the word I'm looking for?
Deductible.
Deductible.
Yeah.
So your deductible is $250,000, and then there's an excess insurance layer that kicks in, and then there's another layer that kicks in after that. And so if you think of any major litigation, the first 250 is the cities, and then the insurance companies pick up the rest.
So what is, I thought there was something about $1 million on that. I could have swore that when we talked about it, is that a part of the layer?
Yeah, our first layer is $1 million. That's covered with our three-party joint powers authority agreement with ERMAC. And then we get into our PRISM authorities up to 5, 10, and 25.
So for the public's sake, we are insured. It's just that there's the beginning part, we call it self-insured. Okay. That's all. Thank you.
You know, if we do look at taking the 807,713 and adding it to the 405,000, that's 1.2 million for a cushion. I'm a little more comfortable with that. And that would leave us $6 million in the self-insured, which is still, yeah.
As long as we think that if I may, that the forecasts are sustainable for because I don't want to have to pink slip. I don't, and in those days, that depends on the gravity of the situation. So of course, depending on what happens, you're faced with that decision anyway. But I just want to make sure, because I don't want to, have a heyday of hiring everybody, and everybody comes in, and then things are going bad, and then we have to start pulling out.
Right.
And that's the worst you can possibly do. And that's all I'm saying. So if we're comfortable, and our staff is saying, yes, we can do this, the models show it's fine, even with the downturn and predictability of a slow market and loss of revenue here and there and so forth, anything can happen, of course, but assuming that things are going towards the model and we can sustain that, then I don't have a problem with that. because I know they need and the city needs the people. I know that.
Right.
I just want to make sure we're not getting ourselves into, hey, we've hired 27 people and now we're going to cut 15 people off in 2 years because
Right.
we overdone it. That's all.
That
And
makes
it could be
sense.
me overcautious. I don't know, but it's just being.
Sorry, Councilmember Boyd?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. What is our reserves at? Dollars in, if you know the
I think
percentage.
it's 9.
So our available reserves are actually at 15 million. That is after your working cash flow reserve, your budget stabilization reserve, and your emergency disaster reserve. So council has done a very good job of putting different buckets of money away for certain circumstances. After those reserve levels, there is an available reserves of 15 million.
Okay, what's the percentage?
And I'm sorry, there has been some things this current year that we have put against that already, which then leaves you with the 9.2.
Okay, and we're still putting money into the PERS trust?
Correct.
So, I'm not concerned at all about the relatively to previous years, the smaller budget surplus. It's a surplus, not a deficit. Everything I've heard tonight is reinforced my position that we are overwhelmed in all departments. And we have an opportunity right now. We have 5 or 6 years of positive numbers, and I've looked at what you've done as far as, I can tell that you, I think more, tell me if I'm wrong, but more so this year than in past years, you've taken a really conservative approach on the numbers. I first questioned your chart with the taxes where the budget was, the amended budget was around 28 million. There's a spike this year, and that was that one-time change. But then you came back and you you projected taxes lower than what we had budgeted for this year. So I don't see how, even with that one-time benefit, that our sales taxes are not going to be higher than it was for this year. But so in all, everything that my concern, and the reason I kept focusing on positions, is because each position we hire increases our PERS liability long-term. And I don't know where that number is in the forecast and documentation, but I think our PERS number is a number that we have to look at long-term wise. Like I said, I'm comfortable with, the ideal budget is one that balances. So if you come in with a surplus, I'm good with that because I think we have enough reserves. And I think right now, not only do we have a lot of work to do in economic development, in public works. By the way, you beat him by a minute. So I'm comfortable with this because that's why we put the reserves aside. If something happens, it would be nice to know. So a couple other real quick questions are: in the past, have we filled every? You come to us and ask us for 22 more positions or 20x each year. Have we filled all those positions? Do some of those positions never get filled and we pull them out of the budget, future forecasting budget, or do we fill every position that you've requested?
We previously struggled with filling like the senior engineer and things like that, and we came back to council and had them reclassed and to tweak and market better. So we have filled all of the positions from last year's budget. I believe we only asked for 7 last year, correct, Carrie? So those were easily filled. And then at mid-year, we came back and asked for 5, and all but 1 of those 5 have been filled, and that will be coming to council on May 6th for a contract.
Okay. And, if my colleagues are more concerned about the number of positions, I can support doing something there. So I would, in our next meeting, want to ask you, out of the 22 positions, what's the 2 or 3 positions that you could do without this year? I'm not asking that right now, but I'm saying to look at what your staff's asking for from us, and maybe look at a couple positions that we could hold off on a year if it will make some of the colleagues up here feel comfortable. I'm very comfortable with what you've done this year, so that's my
I do
position.
want to point out that the department head citywide came with 41 positions, and so I did cut 14 out of the 41 that was requested. But I'm comfortable, if that's the direction council wants to go back to look at the departmental budgets and see where we could push a couple positions off to next year.
Okay, and I want to finish with this. Right before the meeting started, I went out to my car to get my glasses, and I saw Jamie out there, and I said, "Wow, Jamie, you look nice," because I wear a tie when I'm asking for money.
Oh, no.
So I just thought I would look and see who's wearing ties.
Shut down.
Ouch. Ah, that's going to leave a mark.
That's all I had.
Well, and since you touched on PERS, can I just share a fun fact? In the last 3 years, we've seen the pendulum sway towards PEPRA membership, if you will. So I just looked at a quick and easy report, and it looks like about 178 of our employees are PEPRA, and the remainder are Classic. So we're definitely heavier on that side of the house now, the PEPRA members. And like Jennifer said, we're still putting, I think it's 15.59% of the gross personnel budget into the pension 115 trust.
I have, one final thought. And the other way I'm looking at this, I started to talk about the number of years that we know that we're okay budget-wise. We have the reserves, and we have a lot of work to do. But I think that we need to take advantage of where we are now and get the work done and make the investments, because some of the stuff that we're talking about is going to generate more income, more revenue for us. So, again, I'm very comfortable with what you've done. Thank you.
Thank you. That helps. Councilmember Friend?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understood it correctly. So the salary numbers that were proposed, those are at the caps? Is that correct? And so if we saw numbers of more of a starting position, 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road, that's really not going to be impacted, because then those individuals we expect to be at a higher pay grade. And so when I look at 2030 and seeing a potential deficit there, that's not really going to change. We'd see a little bit better number first couple of years, but a few years down the road, it's going to be those higher salary levels, correct?
Well, when we recruit, you get a plethora of different experience, and so the salary is negotiated within the range, and we don't know the candidate's
Oh, I got you. Okay.
history, and so we budget at the top end, and that way there is a little bit of salary savings if they come in, say, with 3 years' experience instead of 6, or, that's an example.
Okay. And then, as Mr. Whitehead kind of alluded to, with projects coming in and so forth that are in the approval stage now that might be under construction or near finished and so forth, that might bring some additional revenue in those later years, because that 2030 mark and seeing a deficit, I haven't seen that since I've been here, and that looks kind of scary, that we don't want to try to avoid that, and hopefully putting that investment in now that we get the city in a position to where we can grow economically and get more, businesses in and bring in those retail numbers up, especially to make up for the potential loss of the sales tax from the point of sale. I do have a concern of overhiring and then perhaps facing, some layoffs in the future if things don't go well with the economy. And my day-to-day job in housing, it wasn't long ago, if you didn't sell your home in 7 days, something was wrong. Now the average days on market is 45, and it's pushing closer to 60. In some parts of town, it's pretty stale. We've got a neighborhood that's at the higher taxes and the HOA. If they don't price it right, it's going to sit there. And so it's starting some early signs of, is it just because we have some greedy sellers, and they priced it too high? So we know there needs to be some market adjustments in some cases, but I'm starting to see signs of things slowing down, and that just raises my alarm a little bit for the future. I'm very pleased at staff and prior council on building up that reserve budget to the 15 million. You know, it's a nice rainy day fund. The balanced budget is what we're always working towards. But I do like to see at least maybe that if, you know, if we're to throw out a number of that, what that cushion is that $1 million sounds like a nice round number for me to do. And so if it was just some fine tuning there and something that can be pushed off to the next, you know, fiscal year, I think that'd be something nice to see that we work towards having that bigger cushion, because I think we might be running into some CIP projects that we have adjustments on that we might have to bring more funds into. And, you know, if there's lack of funding coming in that we're expecting on grants or something like that, or something that we might think that might be there in a year or two, that, you know, federal budgets change or state budgets change, that if we have to tap into our own funds, that we're not really pulling into the reserves, you know, as much. But outside of that, I'm very impressed. I like how it was presented. Each year, it's a little more clear for me, and this one was very well presented, so I appreciate that. That's very helpful. And then just for the members of the public that are out there, and a question that I had that city manager answered for me previously was, when you're looking at the CIP, if there's not something there, that means we're not spending money on that this fiscal year. There's still a lot of projects that are out there that we're working on, but we may not see an expense in this next fiscal year. It may be down the road. So I don't want the public to lose sight of all the many things that we're working on, you know, with the city. So those are my comments for now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just one last thing. Jennifer, you and I had talked a little bit about this, so I had or try to get a better understanding of it. But the one-time 6.2 million, there's roughly a little over 3 million, I think, that remains. And then once we close out the fiscal year, there may be some additional revenues that carry over.
Yeah, we didn't program
Right.
that 6.2 one time, right? That's not included in your current year budget. And so that's something we know that we have received, which was not a part of the original budget.
Right.
We have only received sales tax for this current fiscal year through January. So everything at this point in time is still an estimate. But we're getting a little bit better on estimating as the year goes through, right? And we get all these receipts coming in. So what will happen is, if you have a surplus at the end of the year, that surplus will then roll into your fund balance. And it will increase that $1 million essentially that you have currently.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other questions from council? Does staff have enough direction at this time?
Did we get a number?
We don't have clear direction on which way council wants
So-
to go.
Can I provide one comment before you make your decision? I pulled up the actuarial from our insurance JPA pool. As of December 31st of 2024, our summary of our estimating outstanding losses, even if we wanted to, what they call it, fund it at a 90% confidence rate, which generally isn't the norm. Usually you only fund about 70% confidence rate. But even if we did a 90% confidence rate, they would technically only ask us for about 3.827 million of that insurance. Talking about the insurance fund money, of the 6 that you have to spend. So if that makes you feel any better to make your decisions, just even looking at the actuarial, knowing what the losses, the claims we have existing on the books and what's going on. And if we wanted to fund them at a 90% confidence rate, they're only telling me I need 3.8 million.
Okay. So I think what I heard maybe from my colleagues is that we want to look at the positions, looking at what we may be able to be flexible with. And then the other, and we didn't land on this, but I was thinking of taking the 807,713, adding it to the 405.
Where's
to get-
the 807,000?
I'm sorry. It is coming out of the self-insurance. So we have 6,807,000 that's in our self-insured right now. If we leave it at 6 million even and take the $807,713 and add that to the remaining balance that's left,
Just to show a higher budget.
just to show a higher cushion for this budgeted surplus. Thank you.
Can I touch on that a little bit? So what's sitting in your reserve is kind of like your savings account. So that's accumulated money that's accumulated over the years and you've put it aside. Currently, what we have now, what we're talking about is budget of next year's dollars. And so what you would see when we bring back in a budget for adoption would be on those next year dollars, not necessarily what you've already accumulated and put aside. So if I'm understanding right, are you saying it's because it makes it sound like maybe you wanted to move something over, but you already have that money. That's actual money that you already have.
They want to hire unprogrammed.
Then it would have to be reducing some of the costs that are within the budget.
So to follow up on that, so if you were to take the 800 million from the money's all still there. It's just in different pots. So I think as far as going forward and managing a budget, we should try and manage a budget that has zero surplus and zero deficit. And then, because I know at the end of this year, we'll probably, like you said, we'll probably have money to roll over for next year. So for us to get hung up on in my opinion, an artificial number just to make it look better, or make us feel better, I don't think that's the approach I'd like to take.
Okay.
I think what we're asked for, Mayor Pro Tem was going, is if we have 400 and some thousand right now unprogrammed, and we cut, let's say, 600,000 out of.
Okay, wait a second,
personnel.
400,000, you're calling it unprogrammed, I'm calling it a budget surplus.
Okay, it's the same.
It's a budget, well, a budget surplus is only a surplus if at the end of the year, you have a surplus.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, we're talking about the same thing. So, yeah, so that number, moving it to 1 million, would you take 600,000 out of the proposed personnel enhancements?
Or one-time requests.
I
Well,
don't
if we
care,
do one-time
yeah,
request-
I don't really have a problem if you just want to move money from different funds to other funds. My bottom line is, I think this budget covers what we need, and to get focused on whether there's a surplus or how big the surplus is, I just think we shouldn't cut back any of our, any of the positions, other than if you see a personnel position where we can hold off for a year or two, but.
Well, that's what she's asking.
I was gonna, yeah,
Yeah, do you want her to look at
3 or 4.
3 or 4, and if so, what's that dollar amount you're looking to save?
Right, but when I originally proposed that, I said I didn't need it,
Yeah.
but you
Right.
guys might need it.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm
Yeah.
asking Mayor Pro Tem, so.
Yeah.
if
Yeah, I
that's
think if we
still
looked at,
something-
3 or 4 positions that we could potentially shave off or hold off for 1 more year, then, yeah.
Okay,
I'm okay with
3 or 4, because if you tell me 3 or 4, I'm going to give you 3.
Right.
I don't blame you.
I would be good with 2, but
Yeah.
I just,
I'll be honest, I don't think that I would even shave them off at this point.
Well, then we rescind.
Okay.
We'll just
Yeah,
leave it
then
to-
let's just.
I mean, I think
Okay.
Lloyd brought up some great points with regards to that, and looking at the self-insurance fund again. I mean, to me, I could see them as an option, but I'm not even, I don't feel 100% confident that I would not just approve it as is.
Okay, so what
Yep,
I'm hearing then.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I can add to that then, so I'm agreeing more with Mr. White, and I think the philosophy is, let's jump at this full steam, and then we'll see the benefits down the road of increased economic development in the city and so forth. And so I'm leaning more towards accepting those positions, and move forward.
Okay. So I think we have a consensus on the positions. Councilmember White has indicated, and I understand what you're saying is, we have a 405,000 of unprogrammed or surplus, and if we need money from somewhere, there's places that we can get it if we need it, is what you're saying. And so I think we can move forward. I think we have a consensus to move forward with the budget as presented. And then we'll obviously, you monitor it very well, so, and I appreciate the presentation and everything, the work that the staff had put into this. Obviously, it paid off. I would subtract some from Public Works for the lack of a tie, perhaps, but maybe a position or two. Yeah, I think staff did a great job. Thank you very much for the budget.
Mayor, can I?
Real quick,
Sure.
and I'm assuming that the things we asked for, like a breakdown of Public Works you got all of
Yeah.
that, right?
We do.
Okay.
And we'll bring that back for the public hearing on June 3rd. Can I just take a minute to thank staff? Everybody in this room has been instrumental in putting this together. This is a massive project, and some things have slipped because we've been focused on the budget. This is the Super Bowl for local government, and I'm very proud of the staff.
Good job.
Great job.
Kudos to all. With that, I will adjourn at budget workshop at 8:01.
Did we ever cycle back for public?
Go ahead, what?
Did we ever cycle back for public?